Resume transmission. All right. Oh, I'm here. I'm here. Folks are doing well. Camera's not balanced. Makes sense. I was fudging with it. New IronVerse Quickie is out. Folks are interested. I keep trying different ways to present that format so it looks nice, and I don't know. I did something. Check it out. Let me know your thoughts. Definitely can say if you don't want to check it out. It's definitely worth the read. Go check out Sailor Rogowski. Alright. So I'm here. Some folks may be here later, maybe here in a moment. Turn that down a little bit. In fact, skip track. Thank you. There you go. This is weird, but it might work. So, welcome to another, well, howdy folks, I'm Cody, with IronVerse Comics, and welcome to another Coffee, Cody, and Comics. We're on the 39th. 39 of these suckers. I don't know how you folks put up with me. Most of you don't, so there you go. We're chatting today about something I don't usually hit all the time, but can. This one, the whole time I was setting up, she's like, Dad, what are you doing? You should just be hanging and petting me. Yeah. Happy dog. I guess I'm joined by a co-host today, which is good. More interesting than me. Yeah, we're going to be talking, hey, you can't do that. Hey, you can't do that, though. No, you can't. You can hang out, but no, you're not standing on me. You're not doing that. I'm not your platform. I don't think I'm ever going to get to it. And that's part of what we're talking about today, actually. Riding waves, navigating crazy stuff. Thank you, Rosales Comics, and welcome. What are you going to do? It's going to... Oh, more puddles. Yeah. You just have to be on camera. She stopped being on camera there for a while. She didn't want to come up and bug me, but today she's happy to. Take advantage of it, folks. You're not going to see it too often. We've got an adventure tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. My first private dog gig. This one's coming with me. I gotta go out of town to do it. It's gonna be trippy, but we'll see. Hopefully it works out. Hey, you. Hey. Again, I'm not your platform. But I'm not. Down, miss. Legs swept out from under you. That's what you get. Yes, that's what you get. I guess we're hanging with Alita for a minute here. Huh? You know what you wanted? Huh? She gonna be star of the show at the moment, huh? Cheers. Oh, we slept fine, goofball. For once. Alright. So. Hey. We're talking about magic, mysticism, and did I put a third thing? Magic, art, and creation. That's it. I ended with creation. Thought I ended with art. But no, art and creation. There's a lot of points I want to hit. We'll just hang for a minute until this one calms down. Or I have to put her outside. Yes, I love you too. What are we going to do? What are we going to do with you, kid, if you're going to be like this? What are we going to do? Skip track. This is not that funny. Alright, you. I think I might have to go take her outside. She's being super sweet. At any other time, she'd just get all the rubs and affection she can handle. You done yet? You wanna go outside, or are you just gonna chill out? Huh? She's trying. She's trying. I can't ignore her affection. She's a good kid. So I guess I'll dive into it. Not much more to stall for, except for this kid trying to stand on me again. Yeah? Yeah, there you go. There you go. You happy? Yeah? Now they're just seeing your back. You happy? I can't even see what they're seeing. Alright. There we go. There we go. Alright. Well, this track's from Mushishi. It's very on point and on topic for today. There's a lot of ways we can go with this. But I'm gonna go ahead and start at the start. The start as far as recorded quote-unquote history shows. So we'll start here. Oh, okay. We'll have to do this. Sure. Display screen. I'm remembering some of my commands now. Alright, so we're starting at cave paintings. I'm sure there was things much earlier. I'm sure we were drawing in the dirt long before we were putting pigment to wall. But drawings in the dirt, they barely last that day, right? Whereas these suckers stuck around for quite a bit of time, and it is a wonderful testament to humans' desire to place their will upon that which we find ourselves living upon. You know, some animals do that. A lot of animals do that more instinctually, but they don't do it. You know, nothing quite does it like us. We've had elephants, quote unquote, paint. We've had chimps and apes, quote unquote, paint. It's just applying pigment to a wall, right? And so theoretically, yes, but it's not coming from the same intention that human creation comes from, down to how I'd like to say all of us are manifested, but that's a biggie. Well, we might get into that one later. But primarily here is just I just want to throw this in the background, talk about the innate desire for humanity to create, to will something into existence, which is going to be a big part of what I'm talking about today, and how it relates to comic books and my own personal journey within that medium. But it'll apply to any artistic medium. Once you put I mean, magic is really stupid in terms of how simple it is. Could be. I don't know. Those testaments also would not remain. IronVerse Comics. I think that's the point. You know, it's the shtick you're moving towards. Because it's true. It could be anything, right? I'm not really talking... Where I was going was, it is intent coupled to will. That's magic. Period. We take it in a lot of different directions. We take it, you know, that's just life in a lot of cases, right? And depending on how you want to define things, you're welcome to remove it or include it. I'm going to include it. It's just intent plus will. Or will... Well, no, it's intent plus will. Equaling action, I guess, is what it would be, is that trifecta. There's a lot of different ways it manifests. Then all of it comes from basically, you know, life. It comes from existence, right? we have many creatures who are would fall under that, and with their own creations, ant hives, nests, burrows, basically anything that would affect the outside environment via intent and will. Um, and I think it all does base off of instinct. I just think humanity has a few weirder, quirkier bits of instinct. Because I think these are instinctual. I think they were implied by instinct. It wasn't something so much as some critter, some ancestor recognized and made the connection, and there was a time before this, which is crazy, made the connection that they could apply, again, probably was a dirt thing, could have been a snow thing, but they recognized that they could make something that implies something else. In this case, most of these things were animals, depictions of hunts, things like that. And from what I've heard and studied, a lot of that was simply intent to either depict a memory so that you don't forget it, or to help. And this is the part that sigil magic, and we'll be talking about that in a couple moves. Tackles directly, but it's throwing intent not only into a present something, right? Like making a tool right away or what have you to affect your situation in the very near future, but it's to do it in something even grander in the future. But somebody made a connection way long back that they could imply an event that could happen via some sort of render, whether it was in sand, it was in snow, it was blood on a wall. I have no idea, right? There's just no possible way to figure it out, but it eventually manifests in the shamanic role, for one, which is a big one, but also in these manifestations of the shamanic role, whether it was to depict, again, memories, or to help loss, I think would be a big one. So I would think there's a lot of dealing with grief in cave paintings, as well as celebrating successful encounters, or mystifying that which sustains life, so that which they're hunting, right? And the hunt is a big, thrilling, dangerous thing with a grand reward. So putting your intent towards a successful one is just complete logic and instinct. But it's really the first impetus I can figure of this. Now, they could have been creating things with sticks first, right? I think tools came before this. This is very much not a survival thing as much as it is a psychological survival thing. And so tools, spears, knives, sharp rocks, big heavy rocks being thrown, right? Rocks being used to crush things. That probably came before this stuff, but the intent, again, we'll go back to intent behind those objects, is different than this. The connection between this and a basic tool exists, but it's very different. So with a tool, you're trying to create something, usually to help manifest a better situation. The intent here is something similar, however, it is far less practical. A tool, literally, you then have this object that literally can be used to do something. With this, you now have this implication, this image, this sigil that helps to imply and guide something. This possibly predates, I wouldn't say, it certainly predates language, and we'll be talking about the next step in this. That's the next thing we'll be talking about. But this predates, I would say, most like super organized language. Certainly predates like cultivation, civilization, all that fun stuff. That's the next step. Talk about after we're done here with the most primordial urges. But the main goal is it was doing something very impractical to help manifest something exceedingly practical. trying to grasp the imagination and use it to guide reality. That was the first real, again, it developed the shamanic role, which became, the priest, the healer. The priest was kind of an interesting diversion, I'll call it. But it became the spiritual guide, because humanity isn't, at some point humanity stopped becoming base, animalistic, and started trying to understand the all as best as we can, instead of simply surviving. Again, with the intent of most animalistic creation is survival. With us, that has always been a thing, but it hasn't been as necessary for a very long time. Even back to this, eventually we came to a point where we could spend time doing something impractical to try and make the practical things happen, and then we'd see coincidences, synergies, synchronicities, and whether or not those were actually manifested by the work that was placed forward, or that work helped guide it, or it has nothing to do with it, but it was super coincidental. That connection was made. Once that connection was made, there was no real turning back, and that's the birth of most occult practices. This goes into ritual in the same way. It goes into prayer, something very practical to influence something very practical. It goes into so many things. Just use your imagination. Likely it bled into it. It became the impetus of civilization and so many other things. But this, in particular, is one of the first most recognizable instances of that occurring. I'm sure there was three-dimensional manifestations of it as well. Sculpture, things like that, around this time. Jewelry was a big one. And I would say, in fact, charms came before jewelry, because the implication of a charm, again, is practicality, even though it itself is terribly impractical. Jewelry itself is impracticality just to look nice, right? There's some survival bits in adoring yourself with extravagance, whatever period that is, right? It's been a human thing forever, to attract a mate, right? So there's that. But at the same time, spending your time to do that benefits you as a species more than you as an individual, which is an interesting, again, diversion from basic survival bits, the family unit, the tribe unit, basically the building blocks of society, however you want to define that. But this was the first. If not the first, it was one of the first and longest lasting, one of the strongest in terms of being able to communicate through time, right? There's mummies, there's corpses that have made it further, stalagmited over, things like that. Those are communications, those are forms of magic, because it's again peering into the past, but it's very much different to what this was, which was intentional, two-dimensional rendering of the past, the present, the future, what you would desire to happen, what has happened. It's one of the first examples of us grasping fourth dimensional space, grasping time. And it is absolute magic. Basically, kids these days are born now with the ability to grasp this stuff. Maybe not born, but within a couple years, we're able to teach our kids to do this, whether it's, this highly beautiful, detailed render or whatever. They're these, exactly, it's an intentional manifestation of something impractical to succeed in doing something practical. Cave paintings are a long-standing, very powerful one. And I thought that is where I should begin this chat. I don't know if folks are going to be interested in this stuff, but I wanted to put it down. I wanted to stream today, and these were the topics I had, so you're stuck with it. I don't usually tackle this stuff in public. Once we get into the more weedy parts of it, the more obscured parts, the, dare I say, more occult parts of what we're going to be talking about, it's going to be a bit of insanity. But bridging imagination and reality usually requires a bit of that. So I hope folks will stick with me through this. But yeah. For instance, most of these things are going to depict huts, but there's also things like this. Now, if I was a shaman that time trying to bind together a tribe, keep them functioning, keep them alive, perhaps I had one before me who taught me these things. Trying to keep this tradition alive, trying to exist as a human being in one of the harshest existences our species have ever known. Saying I am here, and not only that, not just saying I am here, more importantly, this is a big one, saying we are here. That's a biggie. That's a very powerful sigil to interact with, a very powerful idea to make manifest and to remind the tribe of via art. I mean, look, we're peering across the millennia at that. Very powerful thing. Now, was this done all in a day? Was this done in generations? No idea. There's a chance we actually, have studied enough to know that. I just don't know. But that's from my hypothesis. That's exactly what it was for, is to say we are here and to bind the tribe, to bind their history and their future together. Because future generations would also see this, right? As long as they didn't leave this area. It also helps, and I've noticed this in my own life, if you find yourself in a new space, whether that's physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, what have you, implying your will upon that space helps it feel closer to home. What do I feel like home? Somewhere you belong, somewhere you feel safe, somewhere where you, that belongs the biggest one, because we're born screaming into the void because we don't understand, right? And so this helps us connect to that. It's super important. So that's what I would think of this piece. Am I right, wrong? Could it even be a modern piece? Maybe. I have no idea. But that's the will and intent behind this piece, and that would be, at least from my, again, hypothesis, my guess. And that's a powerful binding agent for a shaman to work with. It's very intelligent. If you're trying to hold a tribe, a family, a larger group together, groups of individuals showing that they also are together is super important. It's what we call patriotism these days, or to go worse, nationalism. It's what most of these isms actually end up becoming. Communism is a very aggressive form of that. Fascism is a very aggressive form of that, but instead of it being a collective for a single whole, it's a collective for a single whole pointed at a single individual, which is, as far as I can tell, the only example of communism. Any large-scale manifestation of that has become fascism. The leaders have not let go. So it's it doesn't seem like there's actually a all-for-all manifestation. It's pretty much always all for one. And that one is usually guided at a single individual who then benefits and guides at the top. But that's nothing to do with this magic, but it has a lot to do with this expression back when that was super, super important. If the tribe fell apart, then another tribe come and destroy them really easy, or you lose everything you have, all that fun stuff. So this bound us, these rituals, these impracticalities to manifest practicalities. Skip track.
As you wish.
bound us together long enough for civilization. Now I'm skipping ahead pretty good to Egypt, right? We could go back to Sumer, and we can go back to the Mesopotamian kind of first civilizations where we discovered slash learned, and there's a lot of theories on how that happened, but we had enough abundance to want to stay in one place and protect it, and that built civilization. Whether that was agriculture in its many forms, animal husbandry in its many forms. There's a lot of bits that would have bound us to one place and tried to form something that would manifest greater wealth and unity, quote unquote, usually through force, which I'm so proud of us for doing. But again, there's a lot of theories that you can prescribe or not prescribe to how that awakening, quote unquote, happened. But point of the matter is, we got more organized in our language. This is Thoth, Egyptian god of writing, knowledge, in my opinion, consciousness, and quite a few other very important thought forms. He's the guardian slash communicator, the facilitator, I guess would be the word, of these thought forms into ours, and that's part of it. That's how we manifested these gods. Whether it was from natural forces we couldn't explain, so we wanted something to again impractically interact with, so that practical change happened. Gods were one of those manifestations that we came up with. One of the tools we tried to figure out how to utilize this, and then of course the power structures within society both used it for good and ill to control and guide a populace. But I try and give a little bit to Thoth whenever I can, as I can. I'm very non-biased God, which is nice. Knowledge for knowledge's sake is a lot better than knowledge for power's sake. The Greeks ended up kind of converting him to Hermes, and that's where the overlap came between the Romans and the Egyptians when it got to that point. There was a lot of pagan gods that served similar purposes under different names, so you'll find that a lot of this, but they were very powerful sigils or thought forms that again helped bind society together, whether it was for good or ill. And this is one in particular that if you're a writer, you are interacting with it every day. Whether you're paying homage to it consciously or simply just performing the act, you're paying homage to it. These suckers aren't used to bind society anymore, so in a way they're much freer, and I think that's great. There's a lot less actual physical force behind them, which is excellent, because I think ideas and thought forms should have their power, but it should never become something that leads to physical force being manifest. And so art, a lot of other things, that's great. Do it that way. Art, ritual, right? Do it that way, as long as those rituals do not include that very unfun aspect of reality where you take something that's not yours and offer it. That's a big no-no. But nonetheless, this was a bridge, and this is the sigil I'm using to bridge over onto this. You will likely, especially in cities, especially anywhere where folks who are downtrodden are, you will find sigil magic. It's taking existing ideas and thought forms, reshaping them into something that personally resonates with you, and then shooting it back out into reality in some kind of form which can then interact with other consciousnesses, very much like the cave paintings, right? Except it's more direct, more guided. You'll see Enochian magic, which is what John Dee and quite a few others interacted with. That one led down some nasty paths, but the concept overall was to interact with the higher powers, the angels, on different levels, and give them names, give them shapes, and allow those thought forms to interact and be guided so that you can then manifest some kind of intent, some kind of will into reality without physical force. That's the biggie. That was twisted. Anybody who's like Crowley, who likes that version of it, I would recommend never trusting someone who uses a Crowley tarot deck. They are woefully misguided. But tarot itself, that's another one that uses sigils. Every card is a sigil. It's a bunch of thought forms built into a single image, allowing the user to divine will. Does that actually work? Yes and no. I've been a practitioner of divination between tarot and the I Ching. I use runes for my I Ching instead of yarrow stocks or coins. I think coins would muddy it, and I think yarrows. It's a much more complicated way. It shows more intent and will in the ritual, but it takes forever. So it's up to you, because the point of the ritual will still manifest no matter what tool you use. It's just what feels right, resonates with you best, and that's again. Art is a big one, and we'll move from this into art. But the point of these still remains. Most of these, you point is you take concepts, thought forms, ideas that you do understand. You can take love, you could take protection. So a lot of these are used for protection. It's been used for protection forever. Ward off bad voodoo, voodoo, juju, evil intent, curses, all that fun stuff. It's also been used to manifest those things, which it'll come back to you. So it's not a biggie. But the problem with these, however, since it defines them, they lose a little bit of their power. Quote unquote. Again, this is all a belief system, right? It's not a hard truth or hard reality, but it's one I've walked for a while and have found exceedingly useful, and often quite scarily accurate and such. But again, that could simply be because what you're doing is you're helping place this idea, this intent into your subconscious, and therefore it's more likely to manifest in your actions. Just psychology, right? But anyway, we're going to bridge sigil magic into comics here in a second. But I wanted this here. If anybody's ever interested in learning it, it's really simple. You can do it a million different ways. Point up any kind of these rituals. Skip track. Skip track.
As you wish.
The point of any of these rituals is simply to interact with whatever energy you need to interact with, and then place it into a physical form, so it hopefully no longer is demanding of you, and hopefully it can be helpful. Again, I found it helpful in many cases. If I am driven to produce a sigil, whether it's a large, very hyper complicated one like my comic book work, or it's a very simple 5-10 minute sigil like these guys, that the intent and goal of it is to alter a certain state within the future, or to guide me to a specific outcome, or onto another path that seems difficult to reach from where I am currently. It's a good mental exercise. I know a lot of people who follow me and support my work would not like what I do on this. And that gets back into the difference between a priest and a shaman. And the fact that there are some priests that are shamans, but there is not a shaman who is a priest, in terms of it doesn't go both ways. There are some priests who do the good work, and there are some who very much do not. But a shaman, almost by definition, have to be doing the good work. There's something else, witch, or a warlock, or something that has negative connotations to it, that both were bred by the priesthood and then propped up and created by the priesthood. But either way, the fact of the matter is, I've been studying this my whole life. It's part of why and how I do comic book work. And one of the, to be honest, the person who taught me sigil magic. Move on to that. So links in chat if you want to check this out yourself. It's a very long video, but this is from a talk he gave. God, I don't even know when. Does it say the date in here? Quite a long time ago. You can tell he's about as uncomfortable as I am speaking about this because it's a very personal thing. And when you want to share it, you want to share your experiences, especially with this kind of stuff, people will likely think you're nuts. That's just how it goes. So Grant here, they're a bit batty, and I can tell that they've spent more time on, like a lot of musicians, on paths that you should know better just by instinct. But if you want to check it out, it's part of your overall journey. So I as long as you ain't hurting anybody. But I can give examples of times of sigil magic's worked for me, and it's been a lot. The most blatant one is my comic work. Had I not built that original sigil when I was a kid, in terms of this idea, this drawing, this thought form being manifested into an icon that I could then carry forward and push forward towards greater heights and use as a guiding star, I would be in some trouble. And so part of it, is right here. Brent, in this talk, he talks about, I recommend stay away from chaos magic as much as you can. There's a certain sense of possibility within chaos, and it's 100% true. But a lot of the ways you interact with it are, at best, true neutral. And true neutrality is, even from our normal standpoint, can be very dark. So I recommend just kind of, But some of the best artwork you'll find comes out of that mindset, because it's going into depths that we usually dealt with. So that there's that as well. But I don't know, folks. I've never done much more than what I've been driven to do at the time I've been driven to do it. So it's very, very rare. Like, there are some practitioners who it becomes their life. Grant here comes much closer to that than me. And he got much less vocal about this stuff as he got older and got corporate. But you'll find, now that's kind of how it ends up being. Life changes you over time. Society will eventually fit you into whatever box that is, even if that's one outside of the main box that they just kind of deal with you, right? Prison, whatever, medication. But I'm not saying those are wrong. Paths back, it's all your own journey. There's no judgment here. Again, as long as you're not hurting anybody. Then there's extreme judgment, because sadly, we can't. The rules of the game overall do not allow this harm to be beneficial. Well, basically all harm that I've seen caused in this is just pointless tragedy that did not need to occur. Even our great victories over evil, the evil didn't need to happen. The paths that go to that did not need to be there, but they were were, and so we dealt with them usually on their level, and therefore aren't all that much better if you're looking at it in full spectrum. It's just tones we find less dark than others, but it's still dealing with the same negativity. This is a long rambling stream about bits of insanity, so I don't think anybody will watch this all the way through. But if you got this far and you are curious, I put the link of the video in chat. Watch this. I don't condone everything that's said in it, but there's quite a few bits in it that are shamanic truth. No, there's a few others that are not. This is like an anarchy convention. Its whole goal, right, is to put a middle finger towards society. And so a lot of that manifests in Luciferian and satanic inclinations, because both of those particular faiths, quote unquote, are highly individualistic. So if you're coming from an individual standpoint in anything, you're going to find points of those two faiths that resonate. Anarchy can very much be very individualistic. It's the ultimate liberation of the self in society. It's much like Lucifer and such. If you're a Christian, it's a beautiful darkness, and it's that first part that's the most dangerous part of it, because the rest of it's going to be no matter what. But that first part, you got to recognize it, and a lot of people don't. They fall down some paths that are not so great, especially particularly like large organizations that are happy to take advantage of those inclinations. And I don't condone either of those faiths in any form as whole. But again, there's bits that will resonate, particularly if you're an individualist. But so there's some negative shit in this video that I do condone. But there's a few others that very much, again, from what I found, shamanic truths. My work has always been just trying to convey that. I do it a lot of different ways. People know me for a lot of different things. People enjoy my work for different reasons, and that's part of its beauty. Again, I tried to make something very general purpose to kind of get down to its level. I don't know, these can be wonderful tools. I'm not saying anybody dive into this stuff head first. I've read so many books from different time periods, different writers, different thoughts on what it means to be this way, and I found very few things that actually aren't just simply systems of control, because a lot of this comes from fear, right? Our grasp at these things often come from fear. For instance, the cave painting that I showed with all the hands, did that come from wanting to share a sense of unity, or did it come from a fear of losing unity? Likely both. And that's why it was so powerful. But there's some that'll just come from that second spectrum, fear of this. Like, you'll have people, voodoo's a big one. There's a lot of different manifestations of it. This wouldn't speak to every practitioner, but trying to control what that tends to try and control is you're being very arrogant, and arrogance usually receives the slack by reality. You gotta humble yourself to it, understand what machinations you're working within and what that means for both yourself and the greater wheel as it turns, right? That's this bit, right? Again, it's part of why I do the work. Thanks It's part in this story. It's part of kind of how Grant did it, but he comes from a much more individual, almost selfish perspective on it. And selfish has a real negative connotation to it again, because society demands it not to. It's a lot better if you're giving than taking, right? Both for those at the top who always benefit off of it, but also just in general. But they're just taking it a little too far, and learning, which he does speak about learning a little bit. So he's humble enough to take lessons back, at least. Arrogant enough to do some stupid shit, humble enough to learn from it, I guess, that's a valid path. It's a dangerous one. It's probably going to hurt a lot of people along the way, but it's valid. I come more of the bind together and liberate through the unity kind of mindset. Awakening the sleeping lion and allowing it to be fully conscious. That's where I come from. But it's tough. It's tough in this work and where I am currently in life. It's tough. And these are pathways to think about it. Meditation's a beautiful, clean, selfish but without outside damage kind of way to go about it. I would recommend meditation far over any of these other rituals, which often are, and like art often is, a form of meditation. Losing yourself within the flow, whether that's music, drawing, writing, whatever you're doing. If you lose yourself within the flow, you're certainly interacting with something more, I'm going to say, and we should all strive to do that as much as we physically can while keeping ourselves able to function within the actual reality in which we find ourselves. And they aren't mutually exclusive a lot of the time, like, again, with me and my work, it can overlap. It can feed into each other and actually produce a more stable footing than either has. But yeah, it's a lot, folks. I think I'm gonna go only about another 10 minutes. I might do another stream at some point today. I would love to. But this kind of spectrum of things I don't communicate enough, because it's why I'm here doing this work. This channel is a part of this greater sigil I've been making. The name of it did manifest for a while, but it became IronVerse Comics. The people I found to work with, those are wonderful expressions of it now, far without my control, but very much within the sphere of influence of this greater sigil. You don't have to think about it as I think about it either for it to still be what it is. Corporations are a big one. You find sigils and marketing is a big one. Sigils and logos. A logo is a sigil. They just change the definition of it so that it's more consumable to a greater public. That's where you find a marketing, color choices for food, things like that. Anything that interacts with the psychology of the individual to manifest a larger result. That's a sigil. Cooking can be a wonderful art form if we're going that direction in terms of creation, right? In terms of sigils. There's a lot of different ways, a meal means different coming from a corporation than coming from your family. These are just ways to think about things, if you'd like. You don't have to think about them. I found it useful, and I feel it's a disservice not to share that. That's part of what allows things to continue. It's why my work continues, because I've shared what I've learned as best I can. I've tried to be a grounding and at best loving or supportive force, because lending that energy to this greater sigil that I have is probably the most important tool I could have to allowing the work I want to do what I want it to do. And so that's just one of the ways I do it. Um, but you know, if you think I'm crazy, let me know down below, because I am a bit crazy. No shame in talking about that. Um, if you have any specific questions, I'll be more than willing to address them down below. But I thought it was important because there are others, I'm certain, who approach this work in particular, comics, in the way that Grant does, in the way that I do, in the greater scheme. They're all individual paths, they're all individual journeys, and if you look at them next to each other, they may not look anything alike. But you go back to the impetus, to the starting ignition, and they are very similar. It's just time rolled them out differently. It's a valid way, and I want people to understand that it's not. It may be a path for a broken individual to find grounding in controlling imagination and then manifesting it in some kind of physical form. And that's an incredible tool to have in your psychological toolkit. And I think it can be an extreme service, but some people break themselves against these walls as well. Particularly those who want to deal with, quote unquote, the languages of God, the mathematics. That's the number one example I can say of that. But there's others. But you'll see a lot of mathematicians, particularly logisticians, go mad. Because most of these things we try to grasp at, especially when you're going at that high of a thought form level, when something is basically just energy existing, we're a physical form. So you try to grasp that too long, you try to hold on to it too long, you try and fit it into too many boxes that are grounded. You can get somewhere, you can push things forward, but it would be very easy for you to lose your way and the original intent while these very great things reveal themselves to you. And Grant talks about a lot about psychological experimentation and how it related to coincidences within his work. I haven't found that exactly, but I have found greater coincidences within my work that manifested great change. Whether that was put forward by me or I was simply just ahead of the curve and had sensed it coming, doesn't matter. It could be a great coincidence, right? That's the point of it. A lot of really cool communications, I'll call them, or synchronicities, are left up to possibility at the end of the day. Well, that's a possible coincidence. That could have worked. That could have been why. That's usually as best you'll get. You're never going to get the full-on, like, wave magic wand, something happens. That's not how this reality works. You have to go through the work and do it physically, one way or another. You have to walk through time, make it happen. It's not, again, it's not like it's not alchemy from Full Metal Alchemist, which uses so many beautiful sigils inspired by Enochian magic. And I would really like to see how far Arakawa actually researched into that. Oh, we're not fighting anybody, Dollar Coins. We're not fighting anybody. In fact, I'm closing the stream out in a minute. So you missed me. But I'll be coming to another stream, hopefully today, that's lighter than this one. This one's a lot of craziness. You know me. But yeah, if you want to check it out, please do. Check out the replay, all that fun stuff. Thanks for stopping in, Mr. Dollar Coins, co-editor over here at IronVerse Comics, one of those individuals I was talking about earlier. It was a wonderful engagement with this weird thought form experiment thing I've been doing for years. That has given me grounding and a guidance star. But yeah, folks, that kind of does cover everything. I just kind of wanted a linear kind of movement through what became my work in this period of time. Never read The Promised Netherland. If it's fucking with kids, I'm not the biggest fan of that. Like Full Metal Alchemist does it once, just to get you that point. It fucks with the relationship between a father and a daughter, and it does it once in the most horrific way that it could within the world it built, and that was enough. Promised Neverland, it seems like it's got a little bit more torture porn to it in terms of how it messes with kids, but I don't know. I know a lot of people really like it, so I haven't checked it out. You were talking to a friend about native mysticism earlier. He did that sweat lodge teepee thing. Yeah, so sweat lodges. It's the same thing as it's not the same. It's a variation on the walkabout. It's a variation on many things that have occurred throughout older civilizations. I think Vikings even had similar things, except their rules, due to their environment, were a bit kinder in some cases than other tribal beliefs. But, within their own society. Anything outside of that was dirt. Which can happen in a lot of tribal societies. But the main point is bring yourself to a physical exertion, to a point of complete physical exertion, so that the body is no longer connecting with the spirit as strongly, no longer tying it down, let's say, and then you introduce a hallucinogen or some other kind of a higher frequency manifestation, botanical usually, but it could be biological as well, like toads and stuff. Energetic involvement with the chemicals in the brain in this case, but seen before as just forms of energy, different manifestations, holy creatures, and then or holy plants, and then you allow that substance to be the gateway, the doorway to open yourself up to higher realms. Now, does that actually work? Depends on the individual, as with most forms of quote-unquote, again, mysticism and magic. It's very much dependent on the intent behind it. That's half of what it is. It's intent plus will equals action. And it's just, again, as I said at the beginning of this, it's an impractical way to make practical things happen most of the time. That was the forging bit. But he believes real spirituality comes about without hallucinogens. Real, quote unquote. So there's a lot of definitions about that. It's a doorway. It's monks, Buddhist monks, Tibetan monks, anyone who dedicates their lives to meditation, Hindu monks, gurus, yogis. They'll say the same thing to altcoins. They'll say that it is hallucinogens or cheat codes, basically. You're skipping the work necessary to make true, quote-unquote, honest spirituality. Prayer would be the European version of it, right? Prayer. But you're skipping that, and you're basically kicking down doors, and that's why there's usually entities involved within hallucinogens, because they're the ones doing the heavy lifting, not you. And that is a I don't know if it's a problem. Depends how much you trust that particular path. I think a lot of hallucinogens have done extreme good for mental health for certain individuals, and others have done extreme damage. As with anything, again, intent's part of it. If you're going out and taking hallucinogens to party, they're more likely to do damage to you than help you. If you're doing them to learn something, you're at least more likely to get something out of it positive than otherwise. I've done much experimentation. Again, the video I liked for Grant Morrison, that's the path he chose as well. Again, it's a cheat code. So it's going to have that energy behind it. It's not true prayer and connection to the divine. It's not true meditation, connection to the divine. It's not a walkabout without that, right? Where you're actually brought to the point of hallucinations via physical exertion and will. Again, this meditation is application of will to silence the body. And hopefully the mind as well, which is the big one. That's the bridge between the divine and the physical is the mind. And so being able to control that is super important. I'm not great at that. But yeah, it's a whole can of worms. Yes, we need like a few hours to get into it. Well, I just want to do this hour, right? And just kind of walk the path of what art, creativity, and such was, intent, what a shamanic path is compared to many others. And how it refers to my work and a few other comic creators' work as well. A lot of people think about this very differently. I was on a podcast with somebody relatively recently who the medium is a way for him to explore and have fun. It's nothing more than that. And I have a hard time resonating with that because I find everything that's involved in creating this work, it's a lot of energy. So if you're not expending it on something even further than just fun and games, I don't know. I find it it's my own problem that I see it as lesser, but I do see it as but if it's doing what it needs to for the individual, then it is not lesser. It's just a weird point for me. It's like, well, you're spending your time on this. Okay, but I'm not. And we're having this conversation of things that could be greater. And it's dick jokes. And not even good dick jokes. Like, that's that was my problem with that one. But it was important for me to reiterate this stuff because, again, I can't understate how fundamental these areas have been to my personal growth and my creative journey. At the same time, I know for many it's considered a bit of insanity. Howdy, Epicrobloxgamer1234. I'm just gonna call you 1234. Welcome. But yeah, there's a lot of different places, a lot of different paths, a lot of different ways to go about this stuff, and this is the one that brought me to here today. And I just kind of wanted to explain it in very brief detail from ignition, and this is the closest spot to something I could share that has an ignition point, even though there's things much before this, to true manifestation in Thoth and civilization, to writing and crazy motherfuckers like Mr. Morrison, or I guess it would be Morrison. I just call him Morrison now, right? Because he's a they are a they. I'm terrible at that, but because he puts off masculine energy, so it's hard for me to move that way. And honestly, as long as the communication is successful and there's no disrespect meant, then I think the goal of the communication was exceeded. That was achieved. So there's no point in how, right? Like, it worked, but it is what it is. People only want to hear spiritual stuff from people who got it figured out. That's why they gravitate to gurus and such. If they are a true guru or what have you, they don't have it figured out, and they will very directly tell you such. Again, it's the difference between a shaman and a priest. Priests bug me. Not every priest, but the concept of the priesthood and what the priest manifested out of via the original tribal setup of things. It bothers me. They will tell you they have it figured out. They will talk down to you, and they will, particularly you have the older versions of it, like the Pope, who, I am the Word of God. The Word of God's all around me, man. You are an aspect of it. You're one with a lot of history, but you are certainly not a humble version of it. Let's just say that. And it is not a title with the grandest and most caring of histories. But you know, yeah, there's those folks, but those folks are after money. Again, that's the other bit too. Um, I forgot who said this, but the teacher finds the student when the student is ready. That's always been a thing, and the teacher doesn't have to be a person. Teacher can be a work. It can be art. It can be a book. It can be a show. It can be a friend. It could be a lover. It could be family. It could be an animal. The teacher finds the student when they're ready, and it's up to the student to recognize that, respect it, engage it, and learn from it, and grow from it, and move on to the next teacher. In my opinion. Again, everybody's gonna walk different ways. There's quite a few different teachers, and there's some that you find, and you'll be learning from them their whole life, your whole life. So it's yeah, I actually did mention that because I was talking about these hands dollar coins and how it came from two distinct points. It was one to show the unity in the tribe, right? That's the positive part of it, is show we are, we have, we do exist. Whereas the other bit is it came from fear of that thing not occurring. We aren't. We may not be, right? So that's the power of this particular piece. It was the likely part of the, I'm going to call him a shaman again, but part of that person's intent in organizing and manifesting this piece. It came from two different spectrums, and again, I think that's why it's so powerful, why it lasted so long. But that's neither here nor there, nor is it provable. But that's the bit, right? Most of those isms are manifest because of fear. Fear of not being, fear of not having, fear of being destroyed, fear of the individual being crushed by the greater, or vice versa, the greater being crushed by the individual. So it's, yeah, I don't like those. Are those hands in New Mexico? You want to see them? No, I just looked up cave paintings. Straight up looked up cave paintings, and then I talked about, a lot of it was to manifest things in the future, or to memorize or remember things in the past, so that lessons can be taught down the line. This thing, hunt it correctly or it will kill you, things like that. Very basic survival kind of stuff that art came out of. This. Remembering a great hunt or trying to manifest a great hunt. But at the end of the day, like, my whole point with this was simply to share my part of my journey through it that will be ongoing, hopefully long after I die, and it will has been useful for me in finding a path in what is quite often a very broken and insane society in particular, but also just existence, and all of that's perspective. For some, this world is perfect. For others, it is far worse than I imagined, right? Point is, from your perspective, right? And that's the point of quote-unquote magic, in my opinion. I really respect actual magicians, illusionists, as they are often called, because they keep that old tradition of it and they have fun with it. And they add craftsmanship and adoration, and they interact with the imagination in often a really fun way. And they've kept a very ancient craft alive and moved it from the art of deception for the sake of, say, a ruler or a king or a society, into deception for the sake of engaging with someone's imagination, usually for entertainment, which is a great way to go about it. That's why we do comics, right? Comic books are illusion magic. Film is illusion magic. Writing is illusion magic. It's all to engage the imagination to manifest reality that doesn't actually exist. It's to manifest an illusion. But within those illusions, truths can be presented and resonated with, and people can grow. And that is a wonderful gift to leave each other on this crazy, crazy rock. You think you'll figure it out before I die? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I have different belief structures in a lot of different things, and one of them is that changing of worlds. And within that, there's a few different forms of that. And if I stick to any single one, I don't think I'm doing it justice. And some people, they very much can and go for it. But for me, no. I won't know till I know. And even then, I might not know. It could be lights out. I don't know. So, rather than dwell on it and try and convince myself of a truth that I can't know till I cross or don't cross that barrier, I'll wait for it. I'll wait for it. But I have had experiences within that guide me to a perception of what those could be, more so than, say, full blackout. In fact, there's a phrase that I was told via one of those journeys that'll stick in my mind to the day I die. And it kind of covers all of that, and referred to death in this world as being asleep. And I think that's certainly one way to think about it, and it's one that how it was presented, when it was presented, make it a very powerful point to me. Alright, Die Punch Todd's been over there, kind of boring, walked around, talked to people. It's fine. That would be my guess, is a lot of us like, but you never know. At least, again, we all have our individual experiences. I think they're all exceedingly valid. I will say it's very sad if you're one of the individuals who thinks the end is the end. I think that is a waste of the potential and a little bit of arrogance. But again, if it works for you, it works for you. I just think I think it's a waste of potential. And it could be honest to God, it could be the truth. And if it is the truth, then I still think it'd be better to be thinking and acting in other ways. But it is what it is. We are at an hour 16, so about 16 minutes over where I wanted to. Nihilism, kind of. If people really go to actual nihilism, for me, it's presenting the truth in the most powerful ways imaginable, which include the darkest paths, and then accepting that. It doesn't mean you wallow in it. It doesn't mean you make that like everything to you, which a lot of quote-unquote nihilists do. I think it's more just trying to understand and comprehend a form of entirety, and that's possible. I spoke about that earlier as well. It's possible. You will go crazy. I was talking about logisticians and mathematics. Those greater forms are just not something we can interact with on a individual mental level for too long without cost being paid, and that's another big thing about magic. If you're doing it right, the cost you're paying is simply the time and the intent of you manifesting it, so the work. That's usually the cost. But if you're doing it for more than that, there are usually a lot worse costs, and some believe that you can put those costs onto others. And part of why we have our society as we have is because of individuals like that, because it works to a point, but it doesn't work for those individuals. In terms of long term, you look at Mr. David Rockefeller with his 9 heart transplants and what he looked like before he passed. Look at those kind of individuals who have profited off of the suffering of others for a very, very long time. You'll see it physically manifest on them. You look at rock stars as well, whose cost is sometimes the work, but they take it further. There's a lot there, but nonetheless, I recommend, if you're going to engage with anything, of this nature, you do it humbly. You do it with a very clear intent that is on a good-hearted nature, of a good-hearted nature. And you do not lean into anything, because as soon as you do, you may be stuck walking down a path you never should have been on to begin with. Mr. Morrison, or Grant, I can't see. We still haven't come up with a honorific, like a Mr. or a Mrs. for non-binary, have we? We need to do that, because the reason I'm using Mr. is to show respect. So I guess I can just say Morrison, but that doesn't convey the respect. It's almost like, yeah, well, you don't want to say his full name or their full name. That's bothersome. And if you watch that video, you'll understand why they eventually did the non-binary thing. I could sum it up in one thing, and the same way he summed it up. We're all the same fucker. And so I can see why they ended up taking that. Again, I would like to convey respect. I guess I could do sensei, but that's not 100% true either, because, man, a lot of the shit they've put out is just like, ew. That's just ew. So, I don't know. Nonetheless, check it out. Check out the video if you're curious. Again, be warned, it's an anarchy convention with high influence on, like, tearing down societal conventions in England, and so a lot of those are the Christian church, so you'll see a lot of the Antichrist kind of symbolism within it. So if that's something you do not want to engage with, I do not blame you, and don't check it out. But if you're willing to check it out and not take any of it as like gospel truth, because fucking A, it's not. It's one man's experience. At best, he could just be, I mean, he's a storyteller, obviously. So it could just be all a story. But I can say from my own experiences with the one of the like two good things I drew from that. There are tools, and not all those tools are as terrible as their reputation may have put them there, and they've been used by everyone by every society and every culture throughout history forever, and they're still being used. We just call them logos instead. Yeah, consider it. Senpai, I think that's a little too nice too. I don't know what to call this fucker. I don't know what to call this fucker. I just call him a fucker, I guess. That'll probably work. Okay, let me look. You're still talking. Nihilism. Yeah, that's a stupid way to look at life. I agree. Dark paths open up things you can never close. Yep. It's there, yes, in the forces, but in no way can it be combated or negotiated with. You will be driven to madness or suicide. That tends to be a path a lot of people will walk if they go down this, and I do not recommend it if you feel that that's a possibility for you. If you take any of it seriously, you're probably going to be in trouble. 9 hearts. I don't know what that's referring to. Oh, the chicken's doing good. They're doing good. The 3 younger ones are about full size now. They haven't started laying yet, but they're looking good. I've been stupid about feeding them the last few days, so it's ended up being like 9 p.m. a couple days, because I'll just be lost in trying to do anything productive with my day in a way that moves me forward, because I am just terrified in the background right now. Just screaming scared, but we'll see. It's only been the first week, and tomorrow I've got a big adventure with Alita, trying my first private gig for somebody to watching their dogs. So should be interesting. It's gonna be all day tomorrow, so I'll probably be off the internet most of tomorrow. And I hope it goes well. My only concern is I'm bringing Alita, and so if she doesn't get along with these dogs, it makes that job for the up to 9 hours or so. It's gonna be a lot harder, but we'll see. You wouldn't take one man's word without delving into the main source. Contact yourself. Well, yeah, that's the smart thing to do. Some people are dumb. You'll remind me to feed the chickens. That would be good. I haven't missed a day, but there's been a few where I've done it at like 2 a.m. because I'm going to bed and I'm playing back my day, and then I'll remember, right? And I'm like, oh fuck. So yeah, please do. I've got a, I don't think it's ADHD, but especially when I'm super stressed, uh, I'm trying to juggle too many things at once and accomplish all of them, and so some things fall in the back of my mind, and it sucks. But yeah, that would be good. That would be good. All right, we had an hour and a half almost. I'll give it 5 minutes just so we're closer. But you'll see most of these are simply animal sigils, right? Either things they saw that were awesome and amazing. There's something else. I don't know what that's about. They definitely want to make sure that they had butts and penis, though. Curved belly. See, this one seems to be people and children trying to manifest a good hunt from the cycle of these creatures. But yeah, you'll see a lot of these kind of stuff. Again, that was a big HD one. Let's check that out. So this is us reaching across time via art. One of our original and most amazing magic powers is understanding that, like, even like a dam from a beaver, I don't know how long they can last, but not this long. Wood will rot and decay. If multiple generations of beavers live on it, though, and it's replaced, that's a different story. Anthills certainly don't last this long. And we talked about other animals doing art, like elephants and chimps, and it's a very different intent. It's basically us just teaching them to do something more than them having an intent and a drive to do something. It's the same one, dollar coins as far as I'm aware. And it likely was. So it was likely someone putting their hand up against the cave wall, then this individual, most likely the shaman, to make the ritual seem more important, would have consumed or ingested, at least into their mouth, whatever pigment it is. And then they would have breathed all over it, because it's the breath of life. It's earth, air, intent. There's the intimacy of sharing a breath onto a physical form. There's a lot of like important nuances to that. If it was quote unquote spray paint, it wouldn't be spray paint, it would be breath. But yeah, there's some houses in Japan that are made with no nails. Looks like put together like Jenga blocks. Yes, carpentry is a big one. The Netherlands has churches like that as well. It's just you use the correct binding. You can look it up on YouTube. There are some amazing ways to connect wood with just wood. It's a beautiful art. Carpentry is an amazing thing. It's part of my bloodline. My dad was a builder. His dad was a builder. His dad was a builder. I think his dad was a builder. So it's part of my blood. And they would use the term builder. They wouldn't use the term carpenter. They wouldn't use the term contractor. No, he was a builder. And I appreciate that very much. But yeah, there very much is, and dedicating yourself to a craft is another form of magic. And there's some societies who are hyper obsessed with dedicating themselves to a craft because it manifests something greater than what came before. Usually, not always. Right? It'd be great to be able to build that stuff. I wish I had learned more while my mind was around, but I was a very stubborn, I still am, a very stubborn individual who decided I knew better and spent my time doing other things, which in retrospect were far less beneficial than that would have been. But I did learn something. I wasn't like, I didn't waste everything, thank goodness, but I wasted a lot of it. A lot of the potential there was squandered. Not all of it, thank goodness, but a lot of it. Anywho, folks, I guess I'm going to call it. This has been Cody Coffee and Comics. I'm going to drink a little bit more of this coffee. I don't want to have too much because I got to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, get everything together, and then drive from 6 a.m. all the way to Santa Fe. And if I don't see you guys later, just wish me luck on this, even if it's in the past. It's all one timeline, so hopefully future you wishing me luck would affect it in the past. I'm very hopeful that would work. So that would be great. Wish me luck on that. I hope it goes well. I hope those pups like me and like Alita, and that there's no trouble, because then I have another gig, another 2 days of work with this individual, and hopefully they pay well. That's the other bit is. So we'll see, because I haven't kicked up any other work, which is spooky. But there's an opportunity for this to pay much better than what I used to do, at least once, so that'll help cover my expenses next month. I did skip track. Skip track?
As you wish.
Thank you. This is too epic too. Skip track. Skip track.
As you wish.
Thank you. I did, oh, I don't even remember. I did do a little bit of that weed whacking work, but then of course I lost most of the money to it because the weed whacked one of the fuel lines that started disintegrating, and by the last attempt at it, it completely busted off, so I had to order the parts for it, and that took most of that paycheck, so that was fun. Oh, that's what I was getting to. I did book a lawyer for August 30th, so hopefully that whole where I live not being under my name thing can be solved here this year, but particularly in the coming months. Yeah. Maybe watch movies at my doggo job. Maybe. I don't know what the situation's going to be like. My goal will be to, be paying attention to these pups as long as possible, but it's going to be closer to babysitting, so it should be okay. I'm going to take a laptop. I don't know. There's a maybe. I don't know if I have Discord, and I don't know if I'll have internet. Those are the two things. I should have internet. I don't see why I wouldn't. It's the people I'm watching these dogs for. This is an Airbnb that they're staying at, so it's not their place. So I don't know if they'll have that information or not. But yeah, I did. I booked a lawyer finally. Fucking expensive, man. He's thinking as long as it's relatively simple, it'll just be an hour. I'm thinking it's going to be 2 hours. I'm hoping it's not going to be 3, because you wonderful folks of the internet, one of the best and worst forms of chaos magic ever created, supported me and got me enough to actually go through this up to 3 hours. There were a couple donations outside of GoFundMe from folks who didn't want to give money to GoFundMe, and I totally get it. That brought me up to about affording close to, it wouldn't cover everything, 3 hours. So I'm hoping it's just going to be 2 at most, because otherwise I do lose some money on it. Even if I just lose a little bit of cash off of it, but I get it done still, then it doesn't matter, because what that'll do is it'll give me options. Not only will I have this place safe and secure, but I can sell it, for instance, if it came to it, right? There's a lot of equity within this place that could be put elsewhere if I needed to. And there's a lot of different ways I could live that are less extravagant than this and would allow me to do more work. So either way, it'll allow me to figure out what the next step in my life is compared to where I've been for, God, half a decade, I guess, particularly since my dad passed. But yeah, that does it, folks. I appreciate you. I would like to be back later. I tried gameplay stream just a couple days ago, and I couldn't focus. I didn't like it. I haven't played a game for a long time, and so I haven't been doing that. I've been reading when I can, and then just trying to work and figure out how to get work. So I don't know. I would like to do something like that. I still need to finish Persona. Like, I got so far into it, it's kind of a waste. I haven't. Same with Horizon Zero Dawn. I got so far into it, it's dumb I haven't finished it. Days Gone, I got pretty far into, but I think I'm only at about the halfway mark, so there's a lot to go on that. But I'd like to finish that too. It's very difficult for me to focus on something like that and actually enjoy it. Like, again, the last gameplay stream, I tried a couple of different things. Elden Ring is the other one. Like, I haven't gotten close to finishing that as far as I'm aware. Like, 70 hours in. And last time I tried to play, like, I'm stuck at a point where it's like, what do I do next? and that sucks. Because I would like to finish that as well. But, yeah, we'll see. I have no idea if I was going to do another stream, what it would be. This one, like, I like trying to have a topic for these things. And so this was the topic I came up with. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of angles I can hit and fill up time. So here we are. And it feels more productive than a gameplay stream, even though it might be less productive. I don't know. I might need your help, Dollar Coins, to finish it one of these days. Try Catherine. We'll see. But yeah, I do need guidance. I'm stuck in the snow level, and I have no idea what to do. I've tried traveling the map to get to different places of it. I couldn't figure out how to get to this other part of it. I've hit the castles that are obviously visible on the map there. Nothing there. Last time we played, we were both in the sewer, and I never did anything more with that. So I don't know what's there either. But I would like to beat Elden. That would be excellent. I put too much time in it. It's too fun of a game, but we'll see one of these days. Got to go to the right of the map. Okay, it's terrible. Yeah, from what I could tell, like, it looks cool. It's very cool art design. I love the mountain passes carved into skulls. I love the statues. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff. But visually, but like physically, I have no idea what I'm doing. For gameplay wise, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And then that kind of covers it. I put out, said at the beginning of the video, I'll say it again, though, I did put out another IronVerse Quickies. Filmed that at like 3 a.m. Today, I guess it would be, because I couldn't fucking sleep. So another time I was like, trying to watch something is like you're not being productive. That's part of the gameplay stuff as well. It's like you're not being productive. You should be doing something. You're in survival mode. You no longer have a job. What are you doing? There's a lot of that in my head the last few days. At least with like reading comics and manga, like I feel that's slightly more productive, particularly a series I've long invested in and feel I have something to learn from. So I'm might as well, because this is comics. 1 second. And I'm here. I don't actually have anywhere to go. I am just about on volume 84 of One Piece. Trying to save Sanji from his wedding under Big Mama. It's alright. It's definitely the lowest point for that it's been for a while. Like, I'm not terribly stoked with it. Especially coming off of Dressrosa, which was fucking incredible. It's kind of eh. So it's been tougher for me to get through. Luckily, this came in a few, I don't know, yesterday, day before. Shaman King, volumes 28, 29, 30. I'm almost on volume 29. It's back to an incomprehensible mess. So I'm not stoked about that, because some of the volumes before were really good, and now it's kind of tough to read again, especially how long it was between the last volumes and this. But I did eventually figure out what was going on and what had went on in the previous volumes, and so I'm like, oh, okay, it's trudging forward. I just wish it was better than trudging, but its pacing's good and the artwork's good, and hopefully it gets to a point again soon that it's good. Whole Cake Island. Okay, that's what it's called. You gotta have a deflate moment for yourself. Don't take that away. Yeah, it's tough for me these days, because every time I do deflate, I feel like I look at my pup, I'm like, how you can feed her, sure, but are you going to be able to feed her next month? Are you going to be able to feed her the month after? Also, if you want dollar coins, beginning of the stream, she pretty much took over. She hasn't showed up for a while. I just spoke about you and you show up, huh? Yeah. You want to come up? Come here. Lita, come here. Come on up. No, you don't want to say hi now? You were very forceful about it before. Come here. No, You want to go outside, huh? Okay, well, I'll let you out in a few. But yeah, Whole Cake Island. I guess that's the name of the arc. I have no idea. But yeah, Luffy's fighting the mirror lady who has Chopper and the bunny lady in her mirror. Nami just found Lola, quote unquote Lola's dad. It was a weird. It works. Again, One Piece, if it wasn't Oda, a lot of what Oda does wouldn't work. Like, if anybody else did it, it just wouldn't work. And so, like, Lola's dad's character design. It's fucking weird, but it works. The fact that Lola came back up, all the way back from the Gecko Moria's arc. I forgot what that one's called. And she was the pig lady, right? It's just weird stuff. Just weird stuff that Oda's been able to pull off. And I'm glad everything's still interlocking and working really well. The pacing's good. All of that. I'm excited to see what happens with Gemma 66 or Germa, Sanji's family. That was slightly interesting, so I'm kind of curious what's going to happen there, because like his sister saved Luffy's life, so she's not a complete asshole, but Germa 66 allegedly is a complete asshole in the kingdom, and the dad is just a piece of work. So I'm curious, and then like why Sanji left, how Sanji left. Like, yeah, it's gonna be fun. I like Sanji. He's a good character, so it's good to be able to dive into his backstory, which was left kind of ambiguous since we met him on the chef boat way back when. And his depth of character development is incredible. Just even the chef who gave Sanji all of his food, ate his own leg to survive instead. Like, there's some really cool bits, man. One Piece is excellent. But this is a slower part compared to, coming off of Dressrosa. It's slower. So I'm hoping it picks up and gets more interesting here soon. It's not bad. I'm glad that the woman who he's supposed to be married to is, like, cool. That's interesting to me. That he would actually possibly like her and wouldn't mind marrying her. But what it means to be Sanji and being part of the Straw Hat Crew. Yeah, it's some cool ideas. I'm hoping it's like Fishman Island, where it's kind of like, and then he gets to his point. Which in Fishman Island, it was Otahime. I'm hoping there's an Otahime moment where it's like, oh, that's why he did all this. Luckily, like, again, Alita Battle Angel had a similar thing, but it lasted 3 chunky volumes about something completely off topic before it got to why he did it. Oda seems to do it, but it doesn't take as long to get to the point. So I think that's good. But yeah, so I'm reading Shaman King, One Piece as I can. I'm gonna read a lot tomorrow. I think this will be good. What? What do you want? What do you want, you stinker? What? What? What do you want? I'm feeling, the other thing is too, I'm feeling terrible because she's not going to go play with her friends. And last week, man, the weekend was really rough. I miss my job. But every time I think about how much I miss it, I think about how it is now. It's kind of like when I lost my relationship. It's kind of like, well, yeah, there was good stuff that's no longer there. So you're missing the good stuff. You're not missing what it became. So that's part of grief, right? It's a smaller level of grief than if someone passes, but it's grief. But yeah. Oda has switched editors only 5 times throughout One Piece. One Piece has been going on 20 years, 30 years almost. That's very impressive. He has a new editor for these arcs in Wano, different from the previous arc. Oh, interesting. Okay. Send me some doggo food. Would she like heart food or stuffed food? She a girl. Oh, well. Luckily, when I still had work, I bought way too big of a bag of food, so she's fine, honestly. But it's just the thought, right? God forbid something happened, vet bill, that kind of stuff that scares the shit out of me. Like, even my own health, I'm not too worried. I've got that low-end health insurance stuff, so I could still be hit with some crazy stuff. But as long as I keep taking care of myself, I'll be all right. That's the other bit, too, is I'm exercising less because I'm not don't have that job, but it's fine. It's fine. Everything gonna be okay. I'm just having to go through the motions of time and separation from what was previously something very important. Just how it goes. Everything will work out, though. I'm pretty damn sure. But yeah, 45 now. That'll do fine. Let me see. Chunky Cody. Let's go. I'm already chunky. That's the thing too. I gotta be careful about that because I'm a depression kind of eater as well, which is great. So with less exercise, my fucking knee and hip though have been significantly less bothersome. So that's the other bit too. Is like I was breaking myself against the wall with that gig. So that's another point. What? She's just so whiny. You're not dancing around like you got a potty. You just want to go outside. You're done with me. So she is saying, Dad, you're done. So I gotta go. But I appreciate you folks. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, concerns, all that fun stuff. I was hoping to have new pages in this week. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but maybe it will. He didn't get back to me since this morning. The funny thing about Max is he'll say, hey, bro. And then I'll respond a couple hours later because it's a weird time difference. And then it'll sit for more hours. And then I'll either hear from him in a day or two, or I won't for another week. So yeah, try and do push-ups every day, 10 to 20. It works out multiple muscles. That's smart. I've also been doing runs with Alita to see if the excess. Thing is, I used to walk like 10 miles, whatever, a weekend on average. Sometimes far more, sometimes far less. So switching it to running allows me to put it into more concise timing, at least, like a smaller time frame. I don't have to set aside the same amount of time. But yeah, we'll see. Other thing is, it seemed the running was helping my knee. Both the the adrenaline and all that, but also I think it strengthens it a little bit more than just walking. So I'll try and do that. I try and get like a good hour and a half run per week. I think I've missed this week so far. I think I missed. No, I didn't miss last week. I remember doing it last week. That's not enough exercise. Just period. So I'll have to do better. You get as much of a workout walking as running. Both are fine. The difference is, for me, the running, it's more fulfilling brain chemistry-wise, right? The cardiovascular, all that. More fulfilling to that primal nature of movement than walking is. But that makes sense. And I would like increased stamina. That's very true. But okay, I don't think I have anything else to show you folks. Nothing new here. Look. Nope. Nothing here. Okay. Just in case Dollar got back and be like, oh look, surprise! Show you pages. No, none of that. Okay, cool. So allegedly today, Pete, if you remember Pete from Pete's Adventure, the white Pyrenees pup I ended up taking care of for a couple hours. He escaped again. He's back at work. So one of my ex-co-workers messaged me. He's like, do you still have that guy's number? Yeah. So apparently that's being taken care of again. Goofy. That's the thing. Alright, folks. I'll hopefully be back later. I have to prepare for tomorrow. It's not a bunch of preparation, but I got to do all my truck checkouts. I got to check the tire pressure. I got to check out the air filter. I've got to check out the water level. I got to check out the oil level. That kind of stuff. I have to prep my clothes for tomorrow. I've got to prep some kind of lunch because I don't think it'll be wise to leave for lunch while I'm there, and I don't know if they'll have food or what, so I got to prep a lunch, possibly a dinner too, but maybe I'll just eat afterwards depending on what I get paid. And I gotta see what I can fit in my tiny pack. That's probably just my tablet, but I'd like to bring a laptop, hard drive, and that way I can, at the very least, stay connected on internet and watch stuff. I don't want to just read, and I gotta grab, I don't know, bring that one piece, and then like three more volumes, and I'll bring that Shaman King, and I might bring the first volume of Deadpool Samurai, I guess. And then hopefully that'll fill out 8 hours. Bumpkin Eater. I am not a cannibal. Good stuff. Alright, I'm out of here, folks. Appreciate you. Love you. Vaya con Dios, mi amigos. Catch you later on that rusty IronVerse Comics trail. I haven't played this intro for a long time. Forgot it was even a thing. Enjoy. I actually don't remember if it's any good, so if it sucks, sorry.